we all have a couple dollars up here, right? Modern woman. Is the modern woman willing to be the controlling one and take care of the man and let him be a stay-at-home dad?
It's not for me because the ship has sailed on children for me. Like, that's just not gonna happen, you know? So for me, having a man in my life is somebody who is like, will be a really great addition to what I've already set up for myself. Like, I'm now a homeowner. I have a really great job.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So it's just like the guy that would be perfect in my life would be somebody who wants to be a witness to my life and I'm a witness to theirs. We're the rich auntie uncle. That's me.
So you never thought about kids, marriage?
No.
I've always thought about kids and marriage, and now it's totally flipped. I am at a point where I do not want kids. However, I'm also open if the partner situation comes in and there's kids involved or what, I am open to that. But I feel like I'm having to like keep remaking that piece in order to not make myself feel like I'm mourning some life that I didn't get, that I thought I always wanted. And
it's also making peace with the decisions that you feel like you were always supposed to want, but you never really actually wanted them. If I wanted something to happen, I would have made it happen. Children didn't happen. And it's probably because I never really saw myself as, you know, being a mom. Like it wasn't in the cards, you know? And I've been secretly okay with it, but I felt ashamed to actually admit that, you know?
Why? Because other women made you feel that way? Or society made you feel?
It's a societal pressure to make you feel like if this is not being used, your uterus is not in use, then what use are you as a woman? You know what I mean?
They make men too, because, you know, a guy that I've been seeing, he doesn't have any kids. And the first thing that people are all, you know, and I was guilty of it too. I was just like, you ain't got no kids? But I caught myself and I was like, no, Tori, don't think like that. You know, just maybe he just hadn't found that person.
But it's a little bit more forgiving for them. Like they can get away with being like the George Clooney, like bachelor for life kind of thing. It just is. You know, for women, it's just like, what's wrong with you?
I've met someone recently, and you know, he's in his 40s and he doesn't have children. I'm like, I had a slight moment where I was like, okay, you sure you got no kids? Like, you sure you got no kids in Haiti somewhere? Like, but also I was like, maybe God just saved this one for me. Like, maybe that was my little treasure to find.
Welcome back to the channel. You see the information on the screen, so you already know what I'm about. So let's get into it. So shout out to Madame Noir. You know, this video is from them. I'm very thankful for the women on that particular panel to be open and honest, right? And I'm hoping that a lot of guys don't just jump into the comments, you know, trying to bash, you know, these particular women. Because one of the things that I'm always trying to, you know, explain to people is that there's different types of people out here. And I think that's one of the problems that, you know, I have when it comes to some of the, you know, comments and some of the ways that people view life, is because life is not this one direction monolith. It can only be in this one bucket, you know, type of situation. Okay, life is really shades of gray with literally millions upon millions of buckets, you know, that we can all try to fit ourselves into. It does not have to be one way, and this is the only way for happiness, for joy, you know, different things like that. And even when you start to bring in Christianity, okay, to it, because I know, you know, this is a Christian channel and different things like that. Again, I don't think every single thing, yes, it needs to line up with the Bible, okay, but it does not necessarily mean that you have to go down one path or another. I mean, even Paul encouraged people not necessarily to get married and to have children. All right. So you do not have to be playing in this game of saying, okay, if a woman does not have children, okay, that she cannot have a great life. So I wanted to start there, you know, before I go any, you know, further, because I do believe that people can do and have whatever kind of life they want as long as it's bringing glory, you know, to God, and they're trying to do right, you know, different things like that. And even if you don't believe in God, you know, as long as you're going down a path that you feel good about and you're not hurting anyone, okay, I say do you. Okay, now I think the issue here, because, you know, evidently this is a marriage, you know, platform, and I'm always talking about marriage, and I'm always even encouraging people, hey, if you don't believe in marriage, why are you following me? Why are you watching my videos? Just go find somebody else, that you can watch. Because I don't really spend time, bashing people, for their opinions and different things like that. And I even try to, like I say, show both sides of it. That being said, okay, let's get into more of the deeper depth of this particular situation when it turns into talking about women who might want to get married, okay? Because that is what this channel is about. So the very first thing is, you all kind of know how I feel about these terms out here, because everybody finds a keyword and then they lock in on the keyword. And even the title of this particular video is, Are Black Women Done with Traditional Roles? Why the modern woman is rewriting the rules of womanhood. And see, to me, while I understand, like I say, what they're trying to do, and again, remember the keywords is why people kind of lock in. But, I think I'm the only person out here on YouTube that will call other people out for this and even call myself out for it, sometimes when I'll even come up with a title or even, a screenshot or a thumbnail or whatever it is in order to advertise the particular video. And the reason why I call this out is because the women on stage are not traditional at all. All right. And traditional is all the way in one direction. And these women are just not it. These women represent about 15% of women that are born in every single generation. And I'm always telling you all about that over and over and over again. And I even have a term that I use on this particular channel that I talk about when I say instinct-driven women. Instinct-driven women, they have the desire for success. And nothing is going to get in their way for that drive of success. We believe, based off the past, okay, history, that women never desire these things. But that could not be further from the truth. The main reason why you had the feminist movement in the beginning, now I'm not talking about the current version of the feminist movement. I'm talking about the original feminist movement. It was really the same thing as the movement for a lot of Black people. Every human being wants the ability to be able to go out and have the life that they desire, right? And just as you all know, like I said, for a lot of Black people, they couldn't even really own their own business. They couldn't even have their own bank. I mean, Black people, you go back 70 years, and even though we did it in certain towns and villages and stuff like that, if a white person decided to go into that village or into that city, okay, they literally could just go in and destroy it, and there would be no way, for Black people to really fight it. It was something that we were always at the mercy of them, even if we tried to come up. And women were in the same boat. They had to think around men and try to come up with strategies in order to get the life that they want. And the people that did that were the instinct-driven women. And for the Black people, it was the instinct-driven men and women. All right? Because generally speaking, that is the group, okay, that is going to push against the boundary. Okay, I truly believe that God created that group to push against the boundary, so change will always be occurring in the earth. When you look at every single thing, like I was talking to someone as we were going through some of the, hurricanes and thunderstorms and different things like that happen in the seasons. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about the fact, why does God send, these strong rains right as we're going from, the summer into the fall? It happens every year. Same thing as we go into the spring. And what the Holy Spirit kind of showed me was that this is a shaking. This is a shaking of every single thing that is not locked down and it is not strong and ready, to move forward to the future. And while it can be sad if someone loses their life or they lose their house or they lose their car, the bottom line is that is what this time is about. It is that shaking that happens between seasons. And people always talk about going through different seasons of life. Well, it works the same way in the real world. Okay, you need people to shake up the situation, to basically push against the status quo in order to, like I say, bring about change. Like many of you might not know, but like even when you start, I don't care really how you feel about, Elon Musk. This is, again, not a thing about him or against him. But he was the first person to say, why do we have unattractive electric cars? Why can't the electric car be attractive? Which was a question I always had. It's like you have these electric cars, and we had them for a long period of time, but it was like no car manufacturer wanted to make it attractive. None of them. It was almost like they felt like this was just something they had to do in order to appease the masses. But then the Tesla comes out, and people actually want it. They say, oh, wow, that's an attractive car. And see, electric vehicles could have always been attractive. They could have been around, honestly, even 20 years before we had them. But there's people in place in certain companies, they don't want it to happen that way. They want things to happen slowly. And the reason why they want that is because they're making money off the current status quo, right? And I could really go into it because almost every single industry really suppresses change, all right? So I just want to make sure I make that clear. Now let's go into this. When you're dealing with instinct-driven women, as I've talked about it before, they can have the life that they want. They really can. It's like it's hard, I think, for them to see it because they've never really run into that many men that will accept it. And that really becomes the problem. Because when you're thinking about it, from these women's perspective, like most of these women on stage are probably making in excess of $250,000 a year. Many of them might be making over $1 million a year. They're sitting around and they're trying to date men. Okay. And it took them a while to get there. They might have gotten there in their mid 30s, maybe even 40s. So now the men that they are looking around to date are generally going to be men at that same financial level. So when you have a man at that financial level, the difference is women generally date on their level or up. Women rarely go below 10%, okay, of their level. And we all kind of know this. We've had this conversation, multiple times before. But see, that really comes down to where the problem is. When a woman is saying, okay, I make, $250,000 a year, so I need a man that makes at least $100,000 a year or whatever. Once, she's looking for that guy, the problem is that guy now is elite. Okay, see, she's not elite. See, women want to say that they're elite at that level, but they're not. Because finances don't make a woman elite. But finances do make a man elite, if this makes sense. And see, that's where the argument always is going back and forth over the internet, because a lot of people believe that, okay, well, if a woman is a millionaire, from a dating perspective, they're believing, oh, this is an elite woman, a high value woman, whatever term you want to put on it. But it really doesn't make her so. Because men at that level, they don't care about the woman's money. Now, it does not mean that she will not marry a man at that level. It really doesn't. And again, that's where, people start to get all, weird in the comments and different things like that. But you have to understand, if a man is a millionaire and he runs into a woman that's a millionaire, it really doesn't bother him that she's a millionaire. At that point, it's about what that man wants for his life. And see, that's the place where a lot of these women get frustrated. Because when they run into it, that's when, like I say, they hit that brick wall. For instance, the main woman that was talking, the woman in, the blue, dress or whatever, and she was saying that she wants, at this point, she's not going to do children. She's just going to be the auntie. Well, I don't know how old she is. Like I said, y'all know I don't really keep up with people's names and different things like that. But we'll say she's 45. We're just going to say that because she said, the children thing is 100% done. And I run into women that if they're right at that borderline of 40 and they really wanted kids, they truly believe that they can get it. So I'm going to guess that she's a little bit deeper into her 40s unless she's had some kind of surgery to remove her uterus or something like that. When she is 40 years old, or 45 years old, I'm sorry, and she meets a man that is 45 years old, and she's a millionaire, he's a millionaire, it doesn't matter to him to date a woman that is 35 30, or even 25, to be honest. He doesn't care. And so what she's competing with is she's competing with women, not necessarily just on the age thing, but on the attitude thing. See, a man that's making $1 million a year, he doesn't care if his woman is basically just a stay-at-home mom. He doesn't care. He doesn't care if she has a business, if she's doing all these things in the world. He doesn't care. So now this woman's personality is the only thing that's going to get her married. She has to have such a wonderful personality. She has to have such a strong connection with the man for him to say, okay, I will marry you. And let's be real. There is a part of marriage that is slightly transactional. Okay, there's a part of it that is. We can say whatever we want to say about it, but there is a part that is slightly transactional. It's not just love. If it was love, everybody would just be out here, dating any and every last person that they run into that they found any kind of connection with. But they don't. And especially women, they don't. Women, like I said earlier, they want a man to be at a certain financial level. Why? Because deep down within their subconscious, way, way, way back in here, they want that man to be able to provide for them if possible, if they need it. They want that. And they want that. And the reason why they want that money is they want it at that level, the level that they're used to living at. So a woman that's a millionaire, that's why she's not going to date a man that's $100,000-aire. Okay, because the man at $100,000 can't give her the same lifestyle as the man at $1 million. So even if one of these women lost all their money and went bankrupt, if they married a man that was a millionaire, they would still stay at the same financial level. And many men out there that have actually either gotten married or even have dated women might have gone through that. I mean, some of you might have felt it when you lost your job or something like that. And then now all of a sudden, the woman that you're with is kind of looking at you funny because really in the back of her mind, she's like, okay, am I going to be able to stay at this level that I'm used to? Because I don't want to drop. If I'm living at a 5-bedroom house, I don't want to go to a 4-bedroom. Even if it's in a nicer neighborhood, I don't want to go to a 4-bedroom. I'm used to a 5-bedroom. And that's just how women are. And like I say, a lot of men get mad about it, but I've learned when it comes down to the non-negotiables, the equivalent of me being angry at a woman for that is the equivalent of me ramming my head against a brick wall and thinking I'm going to do more damage to the brick wall than I'm going to do to myself. So I've learned to get out of my emotions, accept it, okay, and then move on. But again, let's talk about, this at this level. So when these women are going through, through their dating process, the reason why it becomes so, difficult for them is, again, they're at that place where this man is making all this money. And like I say, unless there's just this super duper awesome connection, he really has no reason to be with her. And while I'll admit, and I've said it before, generally speaking, these types of women, okay, tend to be the most attractive. Okay, they know how to do their glam. They've got people that help them with their outfits and their clothes and their makeup and their hair and all this other kind of stuff. Okay, they're generally in the gym. Okay, because they don't have kids or, because they've never been pregnant, they don't have to deal with baby weight and different things like that. They generally, like I say, don't eat emotionally. So they're not always, just eating just because they're bored or just because, they're going through something emotional. So these women tend to be extremely attractive. But most women, I think, especially as women get older, and if they've been on the right social media channels, they learn very quickly that while in their teens and in their 20s, they think that beauty is the number one thing to get men. As you get older, you recognize it is not. Okay? Very few men are going to marry you just because you're attractive. And while I do encourage women to be as attractive as possible, okay, I'm always saying that is not going to get you married. It is the connection. It is your future. It is what you're trying to build together. That's what's going to get you married. But the attractiveness gets you in the door. Okay, it gets you the quote unquote interview, right? And so all these women, I say most of these women on this particular panel, they can get the interview, But then once they get in, they have to hit that emotional, full, connection level. And like I said, when you're dealing with men that are making, $1 million a year or $500,000 a year, these men literally, they don't have that issue. Just be real. They just don't have that issue. At this point, almost every single woman is open to them. Women that are older than them, women that are 20 years younger than them. Because again, at the subconscious level, most women want to be taken care of. And they're going to go to their best option, okay, to be taken care of. It doesn't matter if it's literal, okay? Remember, it's not a literal thing. It's a subconscious thing. So even if a woman is making $150,000 a year, if she runs into a man that's making $1 million a year and he treats her well, okay, and she actually takes a chance on him, and he's treating her well, he's doing everything that he's supposed to do. He never talks, down to her or anything like that. She feels very comfortable with him. He might be able to get away with being 2 inches shorter than what she wanted. Or he might be able to get away with being 10 or 12 years older than what she wanted. And see, it expands that because he has these resources. And see, that ultimately is the problem with a lot of these women. When they make the choice to go after money, instead of going after money and a relationship at the same time, that's where it causes a lot of problems. So let's talk about what happens if you're a woman and you're in your late 20s, early 30s, and you're like, okay, how can I get it, Jay, then? I want the success and I also want love. How do I do it? Well, it's really not difficult. You need to find a man that's not so much into traditional values, but he's more of a 50-50 man that makes a decent amount of money. Maybe he saw his mom and dad go through it. Maybe he did something else. So basically, he wants to be a power couple. All right. And you need to make sure that you all are syncing on all levels. Okay. So that would be the first guy that you can look for, because these guys do exist. Okay. They are rare. I would say they're more of the rarer kind, but they do exist. The next thing what you would have to do is you would have to find a man that is going to be 100% supportive, but he has his own vision for life. Right. So you all have heard me joke about, my celebrity baby mama, her. Right. And I'm always using her to illustrate this particular example. Her is probably, like I say, worth $50, $100 million. OK, I'm not even worth $1 million. So if me and her were to date, okay, and get married, yes, she technically, in a lot of ways, she'd be kind of taking care of me, because more than likely we are going to move in a house that I can't afford, and all this other kind of stuff, right? But I have a vision. And because I have a vision for what I'm trying to do, like I say, out here on the internet and all this other kind of stuff, and if she supports that vision and she doesn't demean that vision, then I would feel comfortable being with her. So she could never say something like, why can't you get your money up? Why can't you invest in this thing over here? Why your little channel ain't doing what it needs to do? She could never say that. She would always have to be encouraging. And see, this is not impossible. It's really just being a nice person. So this is not impossible. It would not be impossible, for the singer, her, to do. But that is what she would have to do in order to sustain the relationship. Now, one day, maybe I would make more money than she would. Maybe one day, the channel will blow up, and then I might get a deal on OWN, and then I might do some of the other stuff, because some of you guys know my background is film. So I might start producing some movies. So you never know. In 10 years, I might be worth more than she is. But at this point in time, she would have to take the chance. But she would have to buy into the vision of where I'm going. Because if I don't have vision, I'm going to become insecure. I am going to see all the stuff that she has and the power of her dollars. And that would drive me into insecurity, right? And that is what most of these women face, because they date men, okay, that don't have much going on. But see, you have to catch that man at the right time. A lot of the stuff that's going on is about timing. Because let's be real, and I'm just going to tell you something straight up, give you another little aside, ladies, is that everything with men is about timing. Everything. If you catch a man, okay, on his way up, okay, that ability to be on his way up, he's going to accept a certain level of whatever on his way up. Okay, but if he gets up, he's going to accept something totally different. Okay, and even though he might love you at either stage, you have to recognize that it matters. And I mean, honestly, women do it too. Both sides do it. But see, with women, it doesn't play in their favor. But for men, it plays in their favor. So how does this work? Again, a man that's 35 years old, and he's out here dating, and we'll say he makes $100,000 a year. He's already in the top 20% of men, okay? Unless, he's, super short or something like that. But if he's at least average height, at least halfway decent looking, he's going to be in the top 20% of men at $100,000. So let's say by the time he is 40, he is now making $400,000. He has upped his clothing and his style a little bit. At 35, he might have been able to pull, decent looking women, nice women, all this other kind of stuff. But he gets to 40, his range has increased. It has increased as far as how young he can go. And it has also increased, okay, in the beauty of the woman, in her perception of her own beauty. Now, if he's smart, he ain't going to just date anybody, because a lot of these pretty women are not really nice women. Okay. But it's just the fact that his dating pool has increased. Even though he's gotten older, his dating pool has increased because his money is right. And then if he understands how to talk to women and different things like that, that's going to increase. But like I said, for a woman, it's exact reverse. A woman that is 35, even if she makes $50,000 and now she goes from 50 to $1 million at 40, she's actually decreased the amount of men that she can date. So it's not just the age, it's also the money. Because now she wants to date, like I say, at that level. If this all makes sense. Okay, so I'm not here to trash women or anything like that, but I am trying to encourage you on how to get married. So if you are an achiever type of woman and you want to shoot for the stars, okay, I'm not here to stop you. There's always been great women of the past, okay, that we look back and we learn from. But one of the things that I've learned with a lot of those women is that they did not know how to secure both bags at the same time. The financial one and also the ring. And I'm telling you, you can do it, but you have to pick the right man. And you might have to make a financial decision of the man instead of making just a heart love decision. Because the truth is, if you hang around with someone who respects you, you can learn to love them. And you might not have that Hollywood love, okay, but you can still have love. And I think that's the most important thing. Remember, there's lots of people all around the world that do arranged marriages. So they didn't have Hollywood love, but they still made it work. So I think you have to think about all the things that you're trying to do in order to get it to work for you. And remember, I'm about, marriage over here. I try to keep it fair as much as I can, but I also need to talk about serious things in order to give you perspective so that you can get the life that God has for you. Anyway, remember on Thursdays, we, every other Thursday, we do the Zoom lives, which I call Thursday Talks. Please come out. Please join us. Please give your opinions. Even if you want to talk more about this particular video or any other video, that is your time. I know y'all love to drop in the comments, and I love that you have conversations in the comments. But come out and let's have a conversation live. Let's talk about these things. Right? And even if you don't want to literally be on the Zoom, you can always be in the chat. Okay. And if you're concerned about, knowing when these things are going to happen, go ahead and hit that subscribe and hit that bell. That bell will alert you to when we're doing these things. Okay. So even if you don't want to keep up with the times and stuff like that, that bell will help you. So anyway, until then, please like, please subscribe, and we'll see you all in the very next video.